and I believe all new construction in the city of Chicago has to, or done by the city of Chicago, has to include green roofs or some type of contribution to the LEED rating, LEED. Um, Green roofs are basically rain gardens on the roof. And if you try to think about what that would look like, it's basically a garden on a roof. One example, an ancient example, and how all things old become new again, are the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Maybe they figured things out, much earlier than we did, and that knowledge was lost. And another example of ancient stormwater management, similar to the Crete example. Another solution: underground storage tanks, stormwater treatment systems, and biofilters. But what I learned, the best low impact system for integrated water management, it balances the desired results and the associated costs, because we do always, when it comes to public works or infrastructure or new construction, we do have to consider cost. But then we should also consider the cost of not doing those solutions too, which, as we've seen with the 1993 flood and the 2008 flood, can be considerable. Water regulations. The Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, regulates stormwater according to the Clean Water Act, and that's to make water, swimmable and fishable. Point source discharges are permissible only with National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permits, so they regulate that very heavily, and that's NPDES. Iowa is one of 46 states permitted to do point source discharges. However, agricultural runoff, with the exception of concentrated animal feeding operations, agricultural runoff is not subject to NPDES regulations. And so that is an issue here in Iowa, and that kind of speaks to the controversy over industrialized agriculture, and why, along with the grocers and the oil industry and the meat associations, why environmentalists are not sold on the concept of ethanol just yet. The corn and the beans grown for that do affect runoff. Biomass like ethanol and biodiesel have created quite a stir. And so hopefully those industries themselves will look for solutions or a way to mollify fears about how their industry is going to affect other industries and the environment. And like I read with the past Iowa State information for the biodiesel issue, that they are working on research to balance food production and then production for industrial uses. There was a 2001 to 2006 case study done on Central College in Pella, and it took note of the growth of buffalo grass sod, which is native to Iowa. They created a rain garden there, and what the rain garden does, it captures water, it cleanses the water, and it filters the water, infiltrates the water, and then releases the water. So it's a way to create a mini prairie system within the campus, and then also control stormwater runoff, or to manage the stormwater. Basically, those concepts of the rain garden and then other solutions for stormwater management is to build how nature builds, which is a recommendation by Buckminster Fuller. And so there are policy solutions that are affected by government decisions, and that's the porous asphalt, the porous concrete, and the rain gardens. And things like the Iowa Conservation Fund, which successfully made it through our election season and was supported by a majority of Iowans. I believe 72% decided that they want clean water and clean soil, and that they want to take control over the preservation of the natural resources that we have here in Iowa. So in general, what drives the green economy of stormwater management? Money, of course, and then public perception, and then also marketing, which, as I've discussed, a few entities in our area would have to pay more attention to in order to either receive the funding or the tax breaks or the incentives or the subsidies that they feel would benefit their industry, or to work harder to present an image of environmental responsibility. There are grants and loans available. There's the Iowa Smart Planning Principles Program, and there are abundance of stormwater and disaster recovery workshops. There's also community development block grants. In terms of job creation, several things would go into stormwater management: planning the green infrastructure, retrofitting, design, engineering, construction, and maintenance. And so there are a lot of policy entities that take that into account and work in that arena. The City of Des Moines Public Works, Iowa Department of Agriculture, Department of Natural Resources, Natural Resources Conservation Service, Center on Sustainable Communities, Iowa State University Extension. There are numerous here in Iowa. People are very much involved and engaged and paying attention. But there are also some personal solutions, which I think are very, very important as well. As I've always said from the beginning of the show, from the second episode on, regardless of what happens as a policy level, we do have our own personal responsibility to make sure that we're doing what we can for the sake of our own families and our own property, and then the property of our neighbors and the greater community as well. And I say all this because Des Moines is very much a neighborhood-driven city. We've got so many associations that work together to improve their own communities, but we can all make our own personal contribution. In fact, realize that environmental health affects our personal health, realize that, and then use what we can to implement stormwater solutions such as rain barrels, and then even something so simple as a downspout to direct water away from flood areas into maybe a sewer or somewhere where it can soak into the ground, and then also creating our own rain gardens in our own yards, and then taking care how we dispose of our chemicals, and then also how we take care of our lawns and our landscape with pesticides, hopefully not using so many pesticides, but working again for a green solution. I will go on to say that I'm really excited that Bill Stowe will be here, not for next week's show, but the show after that, and we can learn even more about stormwater management, how the City of Des Moines is going to work with the communities to control the stormwater, or at least manage it, and then also what are some solutions we can do for ourselves, and then what advice that we can use from the City of Des Moines. The next episode of Blue.Green.Fusion is going to be Saturday, November 26th, and that's going to be just a general public policy roundup here in Des Moines. And then that's episode 10. Episode 11 is going to be Saturday, December 4th, Stormwater Management Part 2 with Bill Stowe, Assistant Manager of Des Moines and Director of Public Works Department. You can email your comments for Bill Stowe on stormwater management and what we can expect this winter and maybe even next spring and summer via my page at the Des Moines Amplified.com website, DesMoinesAmplified.com. You can also go to my official website and email me there, McQueenPress.com. My other site on the web is the Facebook page, which is McQueen Press, and you just do a search for McQueen Press on Facebook and you'll find me there. Thank you so much for joining me for this 9th episode of Blue.Green.Fusion, and hope to see you again next week with your questions and your suggestions and your feedback on Des Moines Amplified, on Blue.Green.Fusion for my publications, or for Bill Stowe or any guests that we might have on the show. All right, thanks a lot. Happy Saturday.